How's it going, guys? Julian here. For those of you that don't know me, I am the owner of a yellow Mitsubishi Evolution 8 that you see behind me. So as you can see, I've already got the front end jacked up. We jacked it up to get the transmission oil out, and also the transfer case was making a hell of a noise as well, so we drained that oil out as well. So I'll show you guys what the oil looks like, what to look for when you're draining your oil. So as you can see from all these little tiny specks here in the bottom of the oil container, we have a pretty big issue going on inside the gearbox. So we're definitely gonna have to pull this gearbox out. It was a factory 6-speed, so running 356 kilowatts to a factory 6-speed is pretty bad idea, but I went for it to see how long it'd last. Lasted me a year in total, so I guess it wasn't too bad, but let's strip it down, see what we find inside, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so now that the front bumper is off, we're going to go ahead and take the whole cold side intake off, just for accessibility, because you can see the gearbox is just down the back there, a lot of wiring and stuff in the way. So once we get all that off, we'll get the intercooler off as well, so we have some more space to work on the car. So now that most of the intake piping is out of the way, we will be disconnecting the battery. Mine is relocated into the boot, so shout out to Ryan Hooker. If you need some IEvo parts, custom catch cans, air boxes, etc., hit him up on Instagram. He's a top bloke, easy to deal with, and he's got some really good parts. So he has made a catch can with an inbuilt bracket at the back for a battery relocation tab. So we'll go get that disconnected. Battery's already disconnected in the boot, and then we can get this catch can out of the way and then move on to removing all of the wiring so we can get access to that gearbox. So as you can see, it is quite a mess in here. Just wiring, it's sort of hard to keep on top of, but we'll be doing it properly and doing some learning and finding out new ways of doing things as we put this back together. We got to disconnect the wiring harness for the gearbox sensors. Still have to disconnect and drain the fluid from the clutch slave, and then we'll disconnect our cables here for our shifter linkages. Once that's all out, then we'll be able to go ahead and start taking the wheels and the axles out. So we'll be draining the clutch fluid now. As you can see, I've got a rag and a bucket down below. The clutch fluid can be quite corrosive, so always make sure you're extra careful when cracking off bleed lines and dumping the fluid from them. So now that all the top accessories are off the gearbox, our wiring harness, our shifter cables and our hydraulic line for the slave cylinder, we will now take the wheels off and maybe take the shocks out, seeing how we go. So then we can get our axles out. So now that we have the wheels off, you can see that it is quite dirty in here. We'll be giving it a clean up later on. My discs are a little bit lipped, so we might need to look into replacing those. Being a high horsepower car, number one thing you want to make sure is that your brakes are good, because you get all that power you need to stop. So we'll get straight into removing the knuckle bolts. I always mark these. I'm pretty sure these have the locators in them for wheel alignment. Then we'll go ahead. The ball joint looks a bit shot there. We might have to change the tie rod end as well. So this is the top bolt. There's that lobe I was telling you guys about before. That's for the wheel alignment. Always make sure you mark where they went, so then you can put it back in as close to factory as possible until you can go get yourself a wheel alignment. So now that that's all undone, I was able to just push the male side of the shaft straight out. So now we can get a pry bar on the back side of the shaft. Just give it a slight pull. Don't want to pull on it too hard, because then you might have some problems. But once that is then out, there's a circlip that's retaining that into the transfer case. So once you give it a little pull, it should come straight out. So it is as simple as that. Just give it a little pry, turn it a little bit, and that is what the other end of the drive shaft looks like. Out in one piece. Pretty easy to do. You can do it yourself with minimal experience. Just try and remember not to force anything and it should come out easy. Now this is a slide puller kit, which you can basically get from any auto barn, super cheap auto, basically any sort of auto repair shop that you have near you. So we'll be using this to get out our through shaft here, which is what connects the gearbox to the transfer case. Once that's out, then we'll be able to go ahead, we'll drop the tail shaft. Then we'll have access to get all the bolts for the transfer case. Then once the transfer case is out, then the final step is the gearbox. So let's get that through shaft out and I'll show you guys how to do that. So basically all you need is a 10mm bolt, and then this L bracket here. I've already customized that one to have a hole in the end of it here, so you can slide the bolt through. Once that bolts through, then you can grab your slide hammer and wind it on like so. Once that's on, all you're going to want to do is just give it a few light taps, and out comes the through shaft. Alright guys, that'll conclude today's episode. This is my first YouTube video, so if there's anything you want, maybe you want the video to be longer, less music, any tips or anything, just put them in the comments down below.